Laptop computer spins onto the screen, opens, and displays ATP Education Program webinar series, closes, and then spins off the screen.
Access to math on the iPad. So a lot of students have difficulty accessing math. It may be physical, there may be some cognitive issues that give them a hard time accessing math on an iPad. So there are a lot of different tools that you can give that will provide students access to be able to work on some math problems. So what are some of the math access issues? Well, you have some students who have a physical impairment. It's very difficult for them to be able to work on math on the iPad. They may have difficulty touching various portions of the iPad. They may have physical motor control, fine motor control issues. They also may have difficulty working on math problems, on math paper on the iPad, working through problems and those types of things. So there are some things that you can do to make it easier for them to be able to access the iPad and math. Other students have visual impairments, so they may have to have the math presented to them in an auditory format or a way that they can use voiceover to be able to get through their math problems. Certain students have dyslexia, and dyslexia can present a lot of problems when working with math, especially when you start working with word problems. It's very, very difficult for some students to be able to comprehend what those word problems are and what it's asking, and if they have a hard time reading the program, the problem, if they have a hard time reading the math portion of it, it can make it very, very difficult. Dyscalculia is a math, kind of a dyslexia for math, where they have a hard time with math and calculations and equations, and they do some reversals. So it can be very difficult for them also. So it's very important that they have options to be able to overcome those issues. And dysgraphia, some students have a very difficult time writing down the problems in a coherent manner and going back. So that's where other access issues will come in and will help them. So when we talk about dysgraphia, dysgraphia is a condition that causes people to have problems with writing in terms of handwriting, getting thoughts down on paper, and other challenges. So there are some solutions that will help them with that. We'll talk about a couple of solutions in a little bit that will help students with dysgraphia. Dyscalculia is a difficulty with learning or comprehending arithmetic, such as difficulty in understanding numbers, learning how to manipulate numbers, performing math calculations, and learning facts in mathematics. So what are we doing to provide them as supports with that? So there are a lot of apps that are out there that support students who are visually impaired. The buttons are in labeled correctly. It's in a logical order, so it's easy for them to be able to go in and work around a math problem. And there's some basic, and then there's more advanced apps that are available that are really optimized for students who are visually impaired. Apps like Count Money, Counting Coins, Counting Bills and Coins, K-12 Money, Math Robot, Math Melodies. There's also students who have physical difficulties accessing the iPad, where they may need to use scanning. They have a difficult time doing the touching the screen, manipulating the screens, dragging, all those different things that you need to do in order to be able to use a touch device. And so there are a lot of apps out there that have built-in scanning. And the built-in scanning are really optimized for that specific app. Now you can use the scanning that's built into the iPad, but the scanning method in these apps are really optimized to work with it within those apps. So Attainment makes a lot of different apps that have scanning in them. Choose It, Numeracy, Counting Songs are a couple other ones. Counting Songs 2, Attainment's Dollars and Cents, Bing Bang, Patterns, Switch Accessible Matching, Addition and Subtraction, and Touch Numbers. Now I'm just going to show you Attainment and where that is at in there. So let's go into Show Me Math. And when I go into Show Me Math, again, it's customized for the specific student that I'm working with, so I can make those changes and those customizations based on the student. So if I go into my settings, you're going to see that I have a lot of options for the setting up for the student, and kind of this is another accessibility feature, the ability to be able to minimize and to choose what problems they want to work on. But if I go into my system, you're going to see I do have an alternate access, and I can actually set an alternate access method. I can use single switch and double switch. I can use auto scan. I can use different devices for this. I can change it if they need to have a debounce, which is basically I can control the touch settings for them, so they're not hitting a switch activation inadvertently and making a selection that they don't want. I can change the highlight colors, all of those, as well as speech cues. Auditory rollover will allow them to hear the answer before they select it. So I really do have a lot of customization that I can do within the attainment apps to make it easier for a switch user. There are also a lot of flashcard apps to help students who are struggling cognitively that will allow them to be able to work on those math facts if they have difficulty with math facts. You can actually work on word problems if you want to. You can also create your own words, your own problems, and your own worksheets and those types of things with apps like Bitsboard. So if I go into Bitsboard is a great app for creating your own activities or downloading activity that are already made. So you see I have a whole bunch of them in here. I can actually go out to the internet and download a whole bunch of them also. So basically what you'll do is you'll set up your problems, and then once you set them up, you give an option of having them presented in a different way. For example, fractions, I can work on different fractions, like in this one, I want to work on 1/6, I'll go there. But you'll see I also have different types of activities that I can choose from. I can choose flashcards, I can use Photo Touch, I can also use a pop quiz. And there are, I think, about a dozen different presentation modes that you can create for your activities. So I'm going to go to Touch Math.
1/6.
And I can, again, I can create these problems myself, put audio in there. I can take audio out if I want. I have control of the graphics if I want that.
3/6. 4/6. 4/6. 4/6.
Okay.
2/6.
So again, when I go into my settings, you're going to see I have a lot of different options. I can select different users, so I can keep track of different users if I want to be able to do that. I can select favorites. I can do all the different types of settings that I want to. If I were to go in and create my own, there's a lot of different options if I want to go in and create my own. And I can, like I said, I can switch users and I can change different user settings if I want to change different user settings. So I talked about different types of activities. You have flashcards, Explore, Photo Touch, True or False, Genius, Memory Cards, Pop Quiz, Matchup, Word Builder, Spelling Bee, Letter Match, Trace It Game. So basically I would set up all of my questions and my graphics, and then this will automatically generate those formats that I choose for the student that I'm working with. So a really powerful tool is called Bitsboard. I also can go onto the internet and download activities if I don't see what I want. So I go here, tap on that. Then I can add boards. I can go in and do that if I want. I can view this catalog. And there's a whole bunch of them that are available out there that all I have to do is download depending on what math topic I'm working with for that student. So that's called Bitsboard, really powerful tool. And again, those will scan also. The other apps that will support students who are struggling with math, there are apps like PhotoMath, Mathway, Socratic Math, and Homework App Help, SnapCalc, and MathPix Snip. And what these apps do will allow you to be able to scan in a math problem and get the answer. Now, these are not meant for students to complete math problems. These are meant to help students who are struggling to figure out a word problem or a math problem, or if they're struggling to be able to see, or if they want to find out if they have the right answer. So an example is, let's go into PhotoMath. And when I go into PhotoMath, I'm apologizing right now because what happens with PhotoMath here is it doesn't have a landscape. It only has a portrait mode. So I'll just capture the portrait mode here, so you have to kind of look at it from the side. So all I have to do is line up the equation in the box there, and I snap it, and it will go through and it will tell me what the problem is and what the answer is, but it will also show me the solving steps, and we'll show it by graphing it also. So if I go into my solving steps, you're going to show all the steps that I would go through in order to solve the problem. If I click on the carets underneath them, it's going to explain how I would do that and what the math concept is behind that. So this will actually even work for some pretty complex problems also. So let me grab another one here real quickly so you can see the power of like an app like PhotoMath. Okay, so I can actually go through and take a look at the different ways. Do I want to find the solving steps for a function? I'm going to tap on that, and it's going to walk through all those steps that I would go through. So again, really powerful tool, PhotoMath, and there are other apps that will do that same thing. With PhotoMath, there's a free version. It doesn't give you that of that full explanation. If you pay for that, then you're going to get that full explanation also. Bitsboard, we talked about that. Bitsboard, flashcards and games, allows you to create your own. Futaba is another game where you can put in like math equations and kids can buzz in to get the answers. There's apps like Special Numbers that will allow you to be able to create apps working with numbers. Calculators, there's some really nice calculators out there. There's My Script Calculator, Talking Calculator, and Dyscalculator. Dyscalculator will work with the students, and it's easier for them if they have dyscalculia. So let me go to the Talking Scientific Calculator. And let's do this one, Talking Scientific Calculator. And again,
7, 8. Change sign, -78. Memory clear. And hyperbolic tangent, whole part, equals 0.
Okay, so it's going to keep track of it up there, but I also have a lot of settings I can change. I can do paper logs so they can see the steps that they went through. I can change a voice. I can record my own voice. I can change the numeric,
backspace,
the way the numbers are presented.
backspace.
Let's do a clear here, so you get an idea on how this
Clear.
works.
Clear.
Okay.
5 plus 7 equals 12. 5, 6
So I could actually have it say 56
plus
if I want.
8, 9 equals 145.
Okay, so there's a basic talking calculator and there's a talking scientific calculator depending on what I need for the student that I'm working with. Again, there are a lot of other calculators that are out there. So if you need bigger buttons for students that have difficulty with that, you can get there's the big digit HD calculator and jumbo calculator. The other one is math layouts. Students sometimes have a difficulty time working with math paper, so we can make a digital one. And a nice one is called Panther Math Paper. And let's go into that. And you'll see when I go into Panther Math Paper, let's just do math paper once. So here's math paper. You'll see I put the problem in, but the student can go in and they can actually tap on each one of these. This can be enlarged if they need to have it enlarged to make it easier. And all they have to do is tap on an area to be able to put in their answer. So I'm going to put in 6 plus 5 is 11. It's going to pop in there, but I need to carry a number. So you can see on the bottom, on the right-hand side, there's a folder, and I can actually carry it. It's going to put the number up top for me, and then I can add that. I'm going to add another 1, and I need to carry that number again, right? So I put another 1 in there, and I can do 2. It'll do multiplication that way also, but it'll also do more complex problems. So I can actually go in and create and work with more complex problems with this. And that's called math paper. Again, it's much easier. There are settings, so if you drag your hand, you can turn that off if you want. And there's also ways that you can just tap and get around the screen real easily without having to try to maneuver around with that. So that's called math paper. There's alternate access, which is apps that will allow you to be able to enter in information like My Script Calculator. So if I go into My Script, So here's my script calculator, and this will allow me to be able to use my Apple Pencil. 4 plus 5 equals. Okay, and let's get rid of this one. 1/4 plus 1/8 equals. And it's going to go through and change all that. So I can change all that, I can enter them in. I can actually turn off the answer if I want to turn off the answer. So that's my script calculator. There's other alternate access ones that will allow you to be able to use your voice, be able to do it. Equatio, we'll talk about that in just a second. Algebra Touch is a really nice app for working with algebra. It allows you to be able to tap on the numbers. So let's go into Algebra Touch real quickly. And so basically I'm working on the concept. So I'm going to add 1 plus 1. I hit the plus. And then I need to move this one over, and I hit the plus, and then I've simplified those problems. So it allows you to be able to do that with just touch. And Go Worksheet Maker allows you to be able to make fillable worksheets also. Math manipulatives, if you go to Math Learning Center, there's manipulatives that are out there. They're all free. Go ahead and download those. So do a search for Math Learning Center apps, and you'll be able to get it. It's free for iOS, web, and Android. So those are more of those, more manipulatives. Math equations are very difficult. So you'll want to go to, teachers can get Equatio for free. That will allow you to be able to take a snap and have an equation read the way it's supposed to be read. And I'm out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. For more information on the ATP education program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov/education or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.